The Galactic Science Station floated in the darkness of space like a silver flower. It was very big. It had many rooms and many halls. Scientists from 17 different planets lived there. They studied stars and planets and strange things that no one understood yet. The station had a name. Everyone called it Horizon's Edge. It was a good name because the station sat at the edge of known space. Beyond it, there were only mysteries. Among all the scientists and workers on the station, there was one human family. The father was Park Do-yeon. He was a xenobiologist. This meant he studied alien life forms. He was a quiet man with kind eyes and gentle hands. He loved his work, but he loved his family more. His wife was Kim Yuna. She was an engineer. She fixed things and built things. She was smart and quick. When something broke on the station, people called her first. She always knew what to do. They had 2 children, twins, a boy named Taeho and a girl named Jiwoo. They were 6 years old. They had round faces and bright eyes. They laughed a lot. They asked many questions. They were the only human children on the entire station. The alien scientists found the children very interesting. Most of them had never seen human children before. On their own planets, children were different. Some species were born already knowing things. Some species grew up in just a few days. But human children were slow. They took years to grow. They had to learn everything from the beginning. The Valorians were the most curious about the twins. Valorians were tall beings made of living crystal. They shimmered in different colors when they felt different emotions. Blue meant calm. Red meant excited. Green meant confused. They lived for hundreds of years and knew many things. The oldest Valorian on the station was named Preth. He was 800 years old. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched stars die. He had learned things that would take humans 10 lifetimes to understand. But he had never seen anything quite like Taeho and Jiwoo. Preth liked to watch the children. He did not understand them. Valorian children were born with all the knowledge of their parents already in their minds. They did not need to learn. They did not need to play. They simply knew. But human children were different. They knew nothing when they were born. They had to discover everything. They made mistakes. They fell down. They tried again. And strangest of all, they played. They spent hours doing things that had no purpose. They built things just to knock them down. They ran in circles for no reason. They laughed at nothing. Preth found this very strange, but also very fascinating. One day, something important happened. It was a normal day on the station. Do-yeon and Yuna had to go to a big meeting. Scientists from many planets were going to talk about their research. The meeting would take many hours. The twins could not go to the meeting. It would be too boring for them. So their parents left them in their family quarters. The quarters were safe. There were no dangerous things. The children had toys and books and games. They would be fine. Before she left, Yuna kissed both children on their heads. She told them to be good. She told them not to make a mess. She told them she would be back soon. The children promised to be good. They always promised. Sometimes they kept the promise. Sometimes they did not. After their parents left, Taeho and Jiwoo played with their toys for a while. But soon they got bored. They had played with these toys many times before. They wanted something new. They wanted something different. Taeho started looking around the room. He opened drawers. He looked under furniture. He searched for something interesting. His sister watched him with curious eyes. In a small storage compartment near the floor, Taeho found something. It was a roll of silver tape. The tape was shiny and smooth. It was meant for fixing things. Engineers used it to hold wires together or to seal small cracks. It was not a toy, but Taeho did not know this. To him, it was just something new and interesting. He pulled out the roll and showed it to his sister. Jiwoo's eyes grew wide. She had never seen this tape before. It looked fun. It looked like it could do many things. Taiho pulled a long strip from the roll. The tape made a nice sound as it came off. A sticky, stretchy sound. He stuck the tape to his finger. Then he stuck it to the wall. Then he stuck it to his shoe. He laughed. Jiwoo wanted to try too. She took the roll from her brother and pulled her own strip. She stuck it to her hand. She stuck it to her face. She made a tape mustache and giggled. The children played with the tape for a long time. They stuck it everywhere. They stuck it to each other. They made tape bracelets and tape crowns. They covered the table with tape. They covered their toys with tape. Then Jiwoo had an idea. She said they should build something. Not just stick tape everywhere, but actually make something. A shape. A creation. Taeho agreed. Building sounded fun. They sat down on the floor with the tape between them. They started to work. They did not have a plan. They did not know what they were making. They just folded and twisted and stuck pieces together. They let their hands do whatever felt right. Outside the room, Preth walked slowly down the hallway. He saw the door to the human family quarters. He heard small voices inside, laughing, talking, playing. He stopped and watched through the small window in the door. He saw the children on the floor with the silver tape. He saw them building something. He did not know what. Preth shook his great crystal head. Human children and their strange games. Their pointless play. Their endless curiosity about simple things. He walked away. He had important research to do. He had no time to watch children play with tape. He did not know that those children were about to change everything. The days passed slowly on the space station. The stars outside the windows never changed. The lights inside were always the same brightness. It was easy to forget what day it was. But the twins did not forget their tape. After that first day, Taiho and Jiwoo could not stop thinking about it. They asked their mother for more tape. She gave them a few rolls from her engineering supplies. She thought it was just a game. She did not mind. The children played with tape every day. They made long chains. They made sticky balls. They made flat squares and tall towers. But nothing felt right. Nothing felt finished. Taiho wanted to make something special. He told his sister that he wanted to make the perfect shape. Something that had no beginning and no end. Something that went on forever. Jiwoo did not understand what he meant. But she wanted to help. She always wanted to help her brother. They tried many things. They made circles, but circles were too simple. They made spirals, but spirals had ends. They made knots, but knots were messy and ugly. One afternoon, Jiwoo was playing alone. Her brother was taking a nap. She sat on the floor with a long strip of tape. She held it flat in her hands. She looked at it for a long time. Then she did something strange. She gave the tape a half twist. Just a small turn in the middle. Then she stuck the two ends together. She looked at what she had made. It was a loop, but not a normal loop. When she ran her finger along the surface, she did not stop at one side. Her finger went around and around. It touched every part of the tape. There was no inside and no outside. There was just one long surface that went on forever. She did not know it, but she had made something called a Möbius strip. Scientists had known about this shape for hundreds of years. But Jiwoo did not know any science. She just knew that this shape felt special. When Taiho woke up, she showed him what she had made. His eyes grew very wide. This was close. This was very close to what he wanted. But it was not perfect yet. It was still flat. He wanted something round. Something that filled space. Something bigger. The twins looked at each other. They had the same idea at the same time. This happened often with them. They were twins, after all. They needed to make the shape bigger. They needed to make it better. They needed more tape. They went to their mother and asked for more supplies. Yuna laughed and gave them 3 more rolls. She told them not to make too big of a mess. The children promised. They ran back to their room. For the next several hours, the twins worked. They did not play games. They did not watch videos. They did not do anything else. They just built. They twisted tape and folded tape. They connected pieces together. They made loops inside of loops. They made twists inside of twists. Their small fingers moved quickly. They did not talk much. They just worked. Sometimes they made mistakes. Sometimes the tape got stuck to itself in the wrong way. Sometimes their creation fell apart. But they did not give up. They just started again. Finally, as the station lights dimmed for the night cycle, they finished. On the floor between them sat something strange. It was a ball, but not a normal ball. It was made of silver tape, twisted and folded in impossible ways. The surface seemed to move even though it was still. Light bent around it in strange patterns. The twins called it the Forever Ball. They were very proud of it. They did not know why it was special. They just knew that it felt right. It felt like the thing they had been trying to make all along. They left the Forever Ball on their desk and went to sleep. They dreamed of silver tape and endless loops. The next morning, Chief Engineer Beak Suho came to check the air systems in the family quarters. This was his normal job. He did it every week. He expected to find nothing unusual, but when he walked into the children's room, he stopped. He stared at the desk. He stared at the ball of tape sitting there. Something was wrong. The ball was glowing, not with light, but with something else. The air around it seemed to shimmer. The light from the ceiling bent as it passed near the ball. It was like looking through water. Suho was a good engineer. He had worked in space for 20 years. He had seen many strange things, but he had never seen anything like this. He stepped closer to the desk. He reached out his hand toward the ball. As his fingers got close, he felt something. A pull. A gentle tug, like invisible fingers touching his skin. He pulled his hand back quickly. His heart was beating fast. He tapped a communication device on his wrist. He called Yuna. His voice was shaking. Yuna came quickly. She walked into the room and saw Suho standing very still, staring at the desk. She asked what was wrong. Suho pointed at the tape ball. He told her to look at the light around it. He told her to feel the air near it. Yuna stepped forward. She was not afraid. She was curious. She looked at the ball her children had made. She saw what Suho saw. The bending light. The shimmering air. She put her hand close to the ball. She felt the pull. It was not strong. It was gentle, like a whisper. But it was there. She called her husband. Do-hyun came running. He saw the ball. He saw the strange light. He felt the strange pull. The 3 adults stood in the children's room, staring at a ball of tape. None of them understood what they were seeing. None of them could explain it. But they all knew one thing. This was not normal. This was not possible. And yet, it was real. Taeho and Jiwoo were still sleeping when the first scientists arrived. They did not know that their game had become something much bigger. They did not know that they had made something that would change the galaxy forever. They were just children. They had just been playing with tape. But sometimes, the biggest discoveries come from the smallest hands. The news spread through the station like fire. Within 1 hour, everyone knew. The human children had made something impossible. Scientists came from every department. They crowded into the small family quarters. They pushed against each other, trying to see the tape ball on the desk. The room became very hot and very loud. Preeth was one of the last to arrive. He was old and moved slowly. But when he finally pushed through the crowd, he stopped moving completely. His crystal body turned deep purple. This was the color of shock. He had not felt this color in 300 years. He looked at the tape ball. He ran 17 different scans with the sensors in his eyes. Each scan came back with the same result. The result was impossible. The ball was creating a fold in space. A tiny fold, smaller than an atom. But it was there. It was real. It was stable. Preth had studied spatial physics for 600 years. He knew that every scientist in the galaxy had tried to create stable space folds. The Valorians had worked on it for 3 centuries. They had failed. The Thren Empire had spent billions on research. They had failed. The collective of minds, the smartest beings in the universe, had declared it impossible, but 2 human children had done it. With tape, Preth turned to look at the twins. They had woken up now. They stood near their parents, looking confused. They did not understand why so many people were in their room. They did not understand why everyone was staring at their toy. Preth walked toward them slowly. His crystal feet made soft clicking sounds on the floor. The crowd moved aside to let him pass. Everyone knew Preth. Everyone respected him. He stopped in front of the children. He bent down so his face was level with theirs. His eyes glowed with soft light. He asked them one question. Did they make this? Taiho nodded. Jiwoo nodded. Yes, they said. They made it. It was their forever ball. Preth was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and turned to the other scientists. His voice was strange. It sounded almost afraid. He told them that the children had done something no one else could do. He told them that this changed everything. The room exploded with noise. Scientists shouted questions. Some laughed because they did not believe it. Some cried because they did believe it. Some just stared with their mouths open. Commander Yoon Hejin pushed through the crowd. She was the leader of the station. She was human, like the twins. She was strong and smart, and nobody argued with her. She ordered everyone to be quiet. The room went silent. She looked at the tape ball. She looked at the scans on Preth's display. She looked at the children. Then she gave orders. The ball must be protected. It must be studied carefully. No one was allowed to touch it. No one was allowed to move it. She would send a report to the Galactic Council immediately. The crowd slowly left the room. The scientists went back to their labs. They had a lot to think about. They had a lot to figure out, but Preth stayed. He asked permission from Do-Yen and Yuna to stay and observe. They said yes. They trusted the old Valorian. Preth spent the next several hours looking at the tape ball. He scanned it from every angle. He measured the space fold 1,000 times. He tried to understand how it worked, but he could not understand. The tape was normal tape. The folds were simple folds. There was nothing special about the materials. But somehow, when the children put them together, something magic happened. Magic. That was not a scientific word. Preth did not believe in magic. But he could not find a better word for what he was seeing. Meanwhile, reports went out across the galaxy. Ships carried the news to distant planets. Messages flew through space at the speed of light. A small station at the edge of known space, had made the discovery of the century. 2 human children had solved an impossible problem while playing with tape. Nobody believed it at first. The Thren scientists laughed and called it a joke. The collective of minds said there must be an error in the data. Other humans said it was too strange to be true. But the evidence was real. The scans were real. The space fold was real. Within 1 week, requests came from everywhere. Scientists wanted to visit the station. Governments wanted to send observers. Companies wanted to study the technology. Everyone wanted to see the forever ball. Commander Yoon had to say no to most of them. The station was not big enough for so many visitors. But she allowed a few scientists to come. The best minds from across the galaxy. They arrived on special transport ships. Valorians and Thren and members of the collective. They brought advanced equipment. They brought complicated theories. They brought hundreds of years of knowledge. They studied the tape bowl for days. They took measurements. They made calculations. They built computer models, but none of them could explain it. None of them could understand how two children had done what the greatest scientists could not do. One night, Preth sat alone in the observation room. He was looking at the tape ball through a protective glass case. The ball still shimmered. The light still bent around it. Do-yoon came and sat beside him. The two sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Do-yoon asked what Preth was thinking. Preth was quiet for a moment. Then he said something strange. He said he was thinking about how much he did not know. He had lived for 800 years. He had learned so many things. But watching the children, he realized that knowing too much could be a problem. He and the other scientists knew what was impossible. They knew the rules. They knew the limits. So they never tried to break them. But the children did not know the rules. They did not know the limits. They did not know what was impossible. So they just played. And in playing, they found a way. Do-yoon nodded slowly. He understood what Preth meant. Sometimes knowing less is knowing more. The twins were asleep in the next room, dreaming of new shapes to build. They did not know they had made history. They did not know they had changed everything. They were just children. And that was exactly why they had succeeded. The scientists tried everything. They used the best computers in the galaxy. They built exact copies of the tape ball. They measured every fold and every twist. They used the same type of tape. They followed every step. Nothing worked. Their copies were just tape. Just normal, boring tape rolled into a ball. No shimmering light. No bending space. No magic. They tried for weeks. They failed for weeks. The lead Thren scientist was named Korvac. He was famous across the galaxy. He had solved problems that no one else could solve. He had won every prize that existed. He was very proud of himself, but after 3 weeks of failure, he was not proud anymore. He was angry. He threw his equipment across the room. He shouted at his assistants. He said this whole thing was a trick. It had to be. Children could not do what he could not do, but the tape ball was still there. Still shimmering. Still real. The collective of minds sent their best thinker. Her name was Unity. She was not one person, but many minds connected together. She had the knowledge of 1,000 scientists in her head. She could think faster than any computer. Unity studied the tape ball for 10 days. She ran millions of calculations. She tested every theory. At the end, she came to a conclusion. She could not explain it. This had never happened before. The collective of minds could always explain things. That was what they did. But this time, they could not. Unity was not angry like Korvac. She was curious. She wanted to know more. She asked to talk to the children. Commander Yoon was not sure about this. The twins were young. They might be scared of all these strange aliens asking them questions. But Do-yoon and Yuna talked to their children. They asked if Taiho and Jiwoo wanted to help the scientists. The children said yes. They liked helping. They liked being important. The next day, there was a big meeting. Scientists from 17 species filled the main conference room. They sat in rows of chairs facing a small stage. On the stage were 2 small chairs for the twins. Taiho and Jiwoo walked onto the stage holding hands. They looked out at the crowd of aliens. So many different shapes. So many different colors. Some had too many eyes. Some had no eyes at all. Some floated in the air. Some sat in special tanks of water that the children were not afraid. They thought it was exciting. They waved at the crowd. Some of the scientists waved back. Unity spoke first. She asked the children to explain how they made the forever ball. She asked them to teach everyone the steps. Jiwoo stood up. She was braver than her brother in front of crowds. She held up a roll of tape that someone had given her. She started to show them. First, she said, "You take a long piece." She pulled tape from the roll, about this long. She held it up for everyone to see. Then you twist it. She gave the tape a half turn. But you have to feel when it wants to turn. You cannot force it. You have to listen to the tape. The scientists looked at each other. Listen to the tape? What did that mean? Taiho stood up to help his sister. He took another piece of tape. He said that you could not think too hard. If you thought too hard, it would not work. You had to let your hands do what they wanted. More confused looks from the scientists. Let your hands do what they wanted. This was not science. This was not method. This was nonsense, but Unity was writing everything down. She found it very interesting. Korvik the Thren stood up. He was still angry. He asked how children could do something that the greatest minds could not do. He demanded a real answer. A scientific answer. The twins looked at him. They did not understand why he was upset. Jiwoo said that they did not know science. They just played. They made things that felt good. They did not think about what was possible or impossible. They just made things. Korvik sat down. He had no response to that. Old Preth stood up slowly. He walked to the front of the room. He faced his fellow scientists. He said that he finally understood something. The twins had taught him something important. Something that all of them had forgotten. Knowledge was powerful, he said. But knowledge could also be a cage. When you know something is impossible, you stop trying to do it. When you know the rules, you stop breaking them. When you know the limits, you stop pushing past them. But children did not know any of this. Human children especially. They learned everything from nothing. They had no inherited knowledge. They had no built-in limits. They just explored. They just played. They just tried things without knowing if they would work. And sometimes, they found things that no one else could find. Dr. Shin Yoonji was a human physicist on the station. She had been quiet during the whole meeting. But now she stood up. She said that Preth was right. Human children succeeded because they did not know failure. They did not know that something was supposed to be impossible. So they did it anyway. This was not just luck, she said. This was a different way of thinking. A different way of discovering. The galaxy had always used logic and method and careful planning. But humans had something else. Creativity. Imagination. Play. These were not scientific words. But maybe they should be. The room was quiet for a long time. The scientists thought about what they had heard. Some of them began to understand. Some of them did not. But all of them looked at the two small children on the stage with new eyes. Taiho and Jiwoo did not know they had changed the way the galaxy thought about science. They were tired from all the talking. They asked if they could go back to their room now. They wanted to build something new. 1 year passed since the twins made the forever ball. Many things changed in that year. The tape ball was studied by hundreds of scientists. They learned many things from it. They learned how the spacefold worked. They learned how to measure it. They learned how to keep it stable, but they still could not copy it. Every time they tried to build a new forever ball, it failed. They followed every step. They used the exact same tape. They made the exact same folds. But nothing worked. Only the children could do it. And they did not know why. The Galactic Council had many meetings about this problem. They debated for months. What should they do with this discovery? How could they use it? How could they share it? Finally, they made a decision. A new field of science was created. They called it intuitive spatial engineering. It was the study of discoveries made through play and creativity, instead of logic and method. The council also made another decision. They asked for more human children to join research stations across the galaxy. Not as test subjects, not as experiments, as partners, as helpers, as discoverers. Many human families agreed to join the program. They moved to stations in distant parts of space. Their children played with scientists and engineers. They built things with tape and paper and string. They made shapes and toys and games. And sometimes, they discovered something amazing. A girl named Park Somi, who was only 5 years old, built a tower of blocks that could not fall down. Scientists studied it for months. They learned new things about gravity. A boy named Lee Juno, who was 8, made a paper airplane that flew in a perfect circle forever. It led to new ideas about energy. Two brothers named Choi Minho and Choi Junho built a bridge out of sticks that could hold 1,000 times its own weight. Engineers changed the way they built space stations because of it. Human children were changing the galaxy, one game at a time. Back on Horizon's edge, Taiho and Jiwoo were getting ready to leave. Their parents had been assigned to a new station, a bigger station with more scientists and more children. The twins were excited to go. On their last day, old Preth came to say goodbye. He walked slowly into their quarters. His crystal body glowed with soft blue light. He was calm and peaceful. He asked the twins to sit with him. They sat on the floor, looking up at the tall alien. They had known Preth for 2 years now. He was their friend. Preth spoke slowly. He said that he had lived for a very long time. He had seen stars born and stars die. He had learned things that took other beings their entire lives to understand. He had thought that he knew what wisdom was, but the twins had taught him something new. Wisdom, he said, was not just about knowing things. It was also about not knowing things. It was about being open to surprise. It was about playing without fear. It was about trying things that might not work. He had forgotten how to do this. His people had forgotten. Most of the galaxy had forgotten. But human children remembered. Human children still knew how to wonder. Jiwoo reached into her pocket. She pulled out a small strip of silver tape. She had been carrying it with her all day. She held it out to Preth. "For your collection," she said with a smile. Preth took the tape carefully. He held it like it was the most precious thing in the universe. To him, it was. It was a reminder, a lesson from a child. He thanked her. His voice was thick with emotion. His crystal body flickered with colors that had no names. The twins hugged his legs. They were too small to reach higher. Preth bent down and wrapped his long arms around them. For a moment, the old scientist and the young children held each other. Then it was time to go. The transport ship was waiting. Do-yun and Yuna carried the family's bags. The twins ran ahead, excited about the new adventure. They waved goodbye to the scientists and workers who had gathered to see them off. As the ship rose from the docking bay, Commander Yoon received a message on her screen. It was from the Galactic Science Directorate, the highest scientific authority in the known universe. The message was short. It said, "Request immediate inventory of all adhesive materials aboard human vessels." The cubs must have access to supplies. Yoon laughed when she read it. The cubs. That was what the aliens called human children now. Little cubs who played and explored and discovered. She forwarded the message to every station in the network, every ship, every outpost. Make sure the children have tape. Make sure they have paper and scissors and cardboard. Make sure they have everything they need to play. The future of the galaxy might depend on it. On the transport ship, Taiho and Jiwoo pressed their faces against the window. They watched the stars fly past. They were already thinking about what to build next. Maybe a shape with more loops. Maybe something with sound. Maybe something that changed colors. They did not know what it would be. That was the fun part. Not knowing. Their mother came and sat beside them. She asked what they were thinking about. Jiwoo said they wanted to make something new. When they got to the new station, something nobody had ever made before. Taiho nodded. He said they needed more tape. A lot more tape. Yuna smiled and kissed their foreheads. She promised they would have all the tape they wanted. Outside the window, the universe stretched on forever. Billions of stars. Trillions of planets. Infinite mysteries waiting to be discovered. And somewhere in that great darkness, two children with tape were going to find them. Not because they were the smartest. Not because they knew the most, but because they were willing to play. And sometimes that was all you needed.